So last year, iQOO launched the Neo 6, which quickly became my go-to recommendation for a device under Rs 30,000. I mean, the device practically checked all the boxes. So naturally, I was quite excited to try this, the all-new iQOO Neo 7. But I'll be honest with you, after using this for a couple of days, my excitement really has gone down. See, iQOO has always been about the performance, and while the Neo 7 is one of the best performance-focused devices under Rs 30,000, there definitely are some compromises in other areas. So, what are those compromises, and should you really buy the iQOO Neo 7? Let's find out. Alright, right off the bat, let's start by talking about the design here, which is quite similar to the previous generation. I mean, it's practically the same design apart from a slight change to the camera module. See, the outer square remains the same, but now you have a big ring inside featuring the two cameras, while the macro lens has been shifted outside. Now, I'll talk about the cameras later on in this video, but as far as the design itself is concerned, the device is quite ergonomic. The haptics here are a bit on the softer side, so you don't really get that tactile feel while typing, but for normal use and navigation, they feel quite polished. Also, for a device that weighs 193 grams, the Neo 7 isn't super heavy either, especially for a 6.78-inch display smartphone. Speaking of which, you had a 120Hz AMOLED display with an improved peak brightness of 1300 nits with a more practical high brightness mode of 1000 nits. Now this works very well, especially thanks to the contrast shift that happens automatically. Just for reference, here's the Neo 7 alongside the Neo 6, so you can see that the display brightness has definitely improved. Other than that, the display is still the same 120Hz Full HD panel, which looks quite vibrant and is super smooth to use. The Neo 7 also comes with a bigger 5000 mAh battery and a much faster 120 watts charging. Essentially, you can charge this device from 1 to 50% in less than 10 minutes, which is great. Now do keep in mind that to actually achieve these numbers, you have to enable the fast charging mode from inside the settings. Otherwise, the phone will dynamically keep adjusting the charging rate based on the temperature. That being said, at least in my testing, even with the fast charging mode, the phone did not heat up, which is always a nice touch. As for the battery life, the phone easily lasts a full day of medium usage, so no complaints there either. Alright, so now let's talk about the performance, which is clearly the highlight of not just the Neo 7, but actually every iQOO device. Last year, the Neo 6 came with a very well optimized Snapdragon 870 processor. This year, the Neo 7 debuts as the first device in the country to feature the all-new MediaTek Dimensity 8200 processor. The 4nm processor comes with plenty of flagship features, but of course the major focus here is on performance, and it shows. The benchmarks are on your screen and the phone performs amazingly. Now, the best part is that it does not throttle under sustained loads either, so that's good too. As for comparison, you can see when put against the Neo 6, the new Neo 7 definitely has a big improvement in its favor. Also, while the spec sheet reads UFS 3.1, iQOO has stated that they are using a new controller here for better read-write speeds. That being said, I don't really see a massive difference when you compare it with the Neo 6. But even so, as far as the performance factor is concerned, the Neo 7 is definitely an upgrade over the Neo 6. Not that you needed any, considering the Snapdragon 870 is still a great flagship processor and will easily still last the test of time. But it's always nice to see that MediaTek's offerings are not just at par with what Snapdragon is offering, but is even able to outperform them. Also, one small thing about the software part here is that the Neo 7 does come with FunTouch OS 13 based on Android 13 right out of the box. With that being said, even the Neo 6 has been updated to the FunTouch OS 13 version, and it actually received that update quite fast. I mean, it was one of the first devices to receive that Android 13 update, and iQOO's update schedule in general has been nothing short of excellent, so kudos to the brand for that. Now, speaking of the software, one feature I want to highlight is that this device now comes with a motion control mode inside Ultra Game Mode. Basically, you can tilt the device to perform certain actions that would otherwise require you to tap on the screen with buttons. Now, I'm pretty sure that gamers out there would love this feature, since it not only makes performing actions quicker and easier, but also makes the whole experience more interactive. But now, let's talk about the biggest drawback of the Neo 7, which, you guessed it, are the cameras. See, the Neo 7 drops the ultra-wide sensor that was there on the Neo 6 for a 2MP depth sensor, a change that literally nobody asked for. As for the other sensors, there's the same 64MP primary and a 2MP macro sensor with a 16MP selfie camera up front. Now, I did spend some time with the iQOO Neo 7's camera, and the Dimensity 8200's ISP definitely has a lot going for it. But then it also has a lot not going for it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You have the camera samples on your screen, and for the most part, the shots are quite detailed. However, the camera has a lot of issues too. First up, the HDR is quite inconsistent, and even when it does turn on, the results are quite average. The same goes for the color science in itself, with all the shots looking quite washed out. Even for low light shots, there is a decent level of graininess that you can observe, something that you don't really expect at this price point. Now, why do I say that? Well, for comparison, let's compare it with the iQOO Neo 6. The Neo 6 produces more vibrant results and maintains the color temperature as well. Now sure, there is a tad bit of vibrance being added, but overall it's a much better and balanced shot, especially when HDR processing is required. Also, here's a comparison of the human shots in portrait mode side by side. Now I will admit that the Neo 7 definitely has a better depth and slightly better edge detection here when compared to the Neo 6. But do keep in mind that the Neo 6 still had the ultra-wide sensor, which is missing from the Neo 7. So you will never be able to capture images with a wider field of view. As for videos, well, let's just take a look. Alright, so I'm recording 1080p 60 fps ultra steady footage from the iQOO Neo 6, which is on my left, and the iQOO Neo 7, which is on my right side. Both the footages are quite stable, I have to say. But one thing to note here is that there is an extra bit of cropping being done on the newer Neo 7. Also in terms of colors, the Neo 6 looks way better. And I'm just going to pan the camera around so you can get an idea of the HDR performance as well. I mean, yeah, I have to say I still prefer the Neo 6 here. The Neo 7's footage looks decent. Alright, so I'm recording 1080p 30 fps footage from the Neo 6, which is on my left, and the Neo 7, which is on my right side. Now once again, I have to say there's not a lot of difference between the two phones, apart from the way they process the colors. And in that aspect, the Neo 6 still seems to be better here. So, I mean, the Neo 7 is definitely a downgrade when it comes to the camera department. So, the big question, is the iQOO Neo 7 worth it? Well, at the time of recording, we don't really know the exact pricing, but I'm pretty sure that iQOO will be able to price it under Rs 30,000, which definitely makes it the best performance-focused device under Rs 30,000. And I mean, if performance and gaming is what you're all about, the Neo 7 is probably the best pick for you. Now, is the Neo 7 the right successor to the Neo 6? Well, in some ways, yes. You do get an improved display, better battery life, and faster charging, along with a noticeable improvement in the performance department too. With that being said, the camera department here sees a massive downgrade since the primary sensor isn't that great or anything, and the lack of an ultra-wide sensor can be a deal breaker for some users out there. So yeah, at the end of the day, while the Neo 6 was a great all-rounder device, the Neo 7 is basically iQOO returning back to its roots, with focus being just on performance. And yeah, like I said, if performance is all you're about, the Neo 7 is the best performance-focused device under Rs 30,000. With that being said, if you're looking for a great overall pick with good content consumption and day-to-day activities, there are much better options in the form of the Realme 10 Pro Plus, the Moto H30, and the Nothing Phone 1. Or if you're all about the cameras, then the likes of the Pixel 6a, the OnePlus Nord 2T, and the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus offer much better camera performance. Speaking of which device would you like us to compare the Neo 7 with? Let us know down in the comments below, but before you do that, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Varun from GTR, and I'll see you in the next one.